Welcome back to the Baseball Blue Book Podcast, where we focus on the journey, not the destination. Brought to you by the Baseball Blue Book app. Are you in the book? And now, your host, Eric Wobanaw. All right, another episode of the Baseball Blue Book Podcast. Excited to have Coach Austin Heenan with us, Salisbury University. Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Doing well, and yourself?
Doing fantastic. I think fall is here. We had the turn of the weather just this last week, and kind of feels good to be out of the heat. But we're excited about this. Excited to have you on. Excited, we're talking about some of the things that you're doing. And we'll get into all of those when we get started. So why don't you start by doing a quick introduction and a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I'm the pitching coach and recruiting coordinator at Salisbury University, Division III school on the East Coast of Maryland. Kind of born and raised in this area on the forgotten Delmarva Peninsula of Delaware, Maryland, Virginia. I'm from the Virginia part of it. So I'm about an hour away from it. Went to college, ended up transferring to Salisbury. Been here ever since. Can't get the maroon and gold out of my blood. Just like I'm sure I'll talk about him a little bit. Coach Sayers, he's been here for about 25 years, so he really bleeds it. But had a chance to kind of go different places during the summers, coach summer ball, and really found a career path for myself where I'm really passionate about what I do, and really loving every single second that I get of it. Just working with high school and college guys.
That's great. Well, we're going to start by just jumping into your journey. Yours is kind of localized, right? You've been to the kind of the same place where you grew up. So let's jump all the way back to kind of the high school days, and playing ball at that level. What were the things that you did, and what made you a success at that level?
Well, the number one thing is I didn't just specialize in baseball. Multiple guys that I grew up with did, and their development athletically was kind of hindered, and my mother, not knowing much about sports and not being much of an athlete herself, love her to death though, was always telling me every season you're playing something. So during the summers, not only did I do travel ball, I swam, played football during the fall until I hurt my knee, and then she said, okay, you can take this one off. Played basketball, played soccer all my life. Thought I was better at soccer than I was baseball. Just didn't like it as much. And right around the end of my sophomore year, kind of figured out what a weight room was like, and kind of dove into that. And that's probably the biggest key for me athletically in my development was figuring out what a weight room is like and how to do it. And there's really no one in our area to really teach you the specific parts of it. There's not many successful athletes from our area in Virginia. So once you get across the bay and you get to Norfolk and Hampton, there's nothing but athletes. But in our area, it's very few. Kind of me and my friend researched everything we could and kind of just started, working out together, training together. And, that kind of pushed us to, trying to chase a career within the game of baseball.
That's interesting that you brought up the kind of the difference between a one sport athlete and a multi-sport athlete. Why don't you expand a little bit about that, of what that helped with your development over what you saw in some of your colleagues?
Well, I mean, I can kind of go what I see when I'm recruiting and the differences that I see. So so many guys that we see are very stiff movers, and they might be able to do one movement really well. Playing all these different sports, soccer, basketball, football, swimming, it really made me move in different ways and master different areas of movement and everything. And it made me stronger overall. Not only could I just, pitch a ball, but I could run to the side and get a bunt. It made it so much easier. And some of these guys really struggle because they're so specific starting at age 14.
Yeah.
And it works for some, it really does. The ones who develop early are the ones who are able to be very specific. The 14-year-olds throwing 85, I didn't do that,
Yeah.
and not many guys do. um, but if you're very specific and you only do one thing, and weren't that early bloomer, you're going to end up, in my opinion, kind of hinder yourself in the long run. If you can do a lot of things athletically, once you get specific at 18, 19, it just makes it so much easier for yourself. And you know your body adapts to the things that you do. So if you never make your body adapt, when it has to adapt, it's not ready for it. Doing backstroke, my shoulder was in all different motions. Basketball, my legs were making me go side to side, up and down, forward and back.
Yep.
If I just pitch, growing up, really, how much did I develop? So you see these stiff movers that are very specific, but the guys who are playing all these different sports, you see them, and they just move better. And when I'm recruiting, if a guy knows the game well, that's great. But if he can't move,
Yep.
that hurts. It hurts him. If a guy can really move and is really overall athletic, that's what we love. We love athletic guys.
Got it.
We got to teach you the skill. We can teach you the skill, but we can't really teach you to be that much athletic.
Right. Right. No, that's a great point. I've actually interviewed a few kids that when they said that they have now become dedicated pitcher, and they're 14, 15 years old, and it's just interesting to see what's happening these days. You talk about recruiting, looking for these kids that are kind of the multi-talented. It has everything to do with the movement. You can teach the skills. You also you talked about a few that can throw fast at an early age, and they may be a little bit different. Do you still believe that they should be going multi-sports, or is it really something that's up to kind of where their development is?
I always believe in playing another sport, because sooner or later that guy needs to shut down from throwing for a little bit each year.
Yep.
Take some load off the arm, and they're still kids. Some of these guys in travel ball, and they're treating them like they're grown adults.
Right.
I wasn't even a grown adult until I graduated college. That I don't think. I mean, now that I'm 27, I look back at 22 me. I'm like, you're still a kid. And these coaches sometimes are talking to these 14-year-olds and 15-year-olds like they're grown adults.
Yeah.
And that's why. And I know I'm not a Power Five coach, and so if I ever end up a Power Five coach, I guess I might look at it differently. But when I saw a kid get an offer from a Power Five school, and he's never stepped in a high school classroom, and he committed.
Yeah.
And my only thing was, that kid doesn't even know what he wants to study. He doesn't know if he wants to be in a big area, if he wants to go south, west, north, east.
Yeah.
If he doesn't even know what he wants to do, and it surprises me that it's getting pushed for them to commit. And I know, right now I'm not recruiting 8th, ninth graders. I know that. And so I'm not in that realm. And maybe if I was, I'd look at it differently. But from my outside view at the moment, it just doesn't make sense. Let these kids be kids and let them have fun. I was talking to one of my friends, and he was a Division II, all conference goalie for 2 years. And he played down in South Carolina. And we think that one of the biggest things we did was play a game where you had a ball and it was manhunt, but you pegged each other with it. And that's how you got out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we think that helped us athletically. It helped me throw, maybe.
Right.
Throw from different angles, throw while running,
Yep.
And it helped him, dodge, it made him do different things. Some of these kids aren't being kids.
Yeah.
And if they can get back to being kids, you'll see their maturity go up in the long run,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll see their athleticism probably go up on the average. And it just surprises me that they're supposed to be adults at 14, 15. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, no, I think you said you listened to yesterday's the podcast with Coach Gage. I think he actually said we're to blame. These kids aren't the ones that are making the rules, right? It's the adults that are making the rules, and how do we? And it's almost keeping up with the Joneses, right? You see one person do it, they may have some success, and all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, I've got to now start recruiting 14, 15-year-olds and get them in there and have them focused on baseball. The other point that you made is just playing the dodgeball game that you mentioned, and all of the creativity, right? I've actually also talked to some old timers that talk about the creativity of baseball, right? You put these players on the field and allowing them to think themselves. That's tough these days, right? They've been told exactly what to do in every situation from a very young age, and all of a sudden, when something comes up that they might not have practiced lately, or they haven't talked about, all of a sudden that ability to kind of navigate the unknown is really tough. And I think you're absolutely right. Let these kids be kids, and it's our responsibility to do that, right? And maybe take a stand and say, it's okay that you're a football player or a soccer player, but you got some potential to be a baseball player, and we'd love to take a look at you. I think that takes bravery, especially with what's going on today in today's climate. So that's pretty awesome. It's great segue into my next question. It's really about today's environment, because kids are really different, and if it's because of the kids or because of the adults, whatever it might be. What do you think from when you were going to school, high school, college, and to today? What have you seen that's different, and what are some of those challenges that you're really taking on today? And I think we talked about that your camp. I think that's a good segue into that as well. So expand upon kind of what you're doing to meet some of the challenges that you're seeing in today's new environment.
In my opinion, it's honesty. And what I mean by that is, not a lot of people are telling these kids the honest truth. A lot of people are trying to get, as my dog tries to climb up on me and get some kisses. Not a lot of people are telling the kids the honest truth and just trying to get a paycheck. If I make them feel good, they'll keep paying and coming to me. And I had a long talk with a couple parents of, they're not getting this playing time and this team. Should I pull them out? Should I take them to this high school? Like, whoa. What happened to earning? You're not good at, why can't you tell a kid you're not good enough to earn those innings right now, or those at bats? Yep. Why can't that kid say, what, I'm going to grind and earn that? The greatest thing I think was ever told to me, and I thought I was a stud baseball player because whatever, I got to high school and we had a really good team, and I was a freshman, thought I was a good pitcher. I was the backup right fielder. When the right fielder pitched, I played right field, and I DH here and there, and I thought I should be pitching on the varsity team. And my coach told me straight up, and I knew him when he was in high school. My grandmother and my mother both taught him, so he had no problem hurting my feelings if he had to. He said, you're not good enough. If you work and get good enough, you'll pitch. So I was pitching JV games and playing right field, my freshman year for varsity. And I learned from then on that none of this is given to you.
Yeah.
And it was probably the greatest thing that was ever told to me. And shout out to Luke Brankley at Nando High School. Appreciate you for telling me that you're not good enough. And a lot of kids sometimes take that to their parents, and their parents say, how dare you tell my kid they're not good enough? Right. And I was lucky enough to have a mom who looked at me, who knew nothing about sports, like I said. And she told me, well, you better get at it then. You better get better if you want to pitch.
Yep.
And it was great to hear that. And I think more kids need to hear that kind of stuff.
Right.
You can't just pull kids to go somewhere else so they hopefully play. Well, they're not going to get any better.
Yep.
Because then, even if we do recruit them, and it happens every year, some of these kids get to college and think they deserve to play.
Yep.
I mean, that doesn't happen. That does not. I mean, the most talented kids that come in sometimes never pitch, and the least talented kids who work and listen and are coachable, they're the ones who play, and they don't take criticism as me yelling at you. If I tell you, hey, this needs to improve, this is how we're going to do it, take that with a smile on your face, say, can't wait.
Yep.
Those are the guys who really develop and really have a successful career because, and I'm sure we'll get into it, like, they don't understand that the biggest part of college athletics is the culture part of it. Um, you know, and if you can't fit that, that's why the portal's so big now.
Yeah.
They go in thinking they deserve. They don't want to fit anything. They want it to fit around them, and it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Because no one's ever bigger than a program.
Yep. My personal opinion, I typically keep personal opinions out of this, but my personal opinion is that the transfer portal is just it's a reflection of what we've done over the last number of years of kind of, and you just said it, right? Of not being truthful, not being honest with these players, because they're told one thing, they're recruited to come in on a program, and all of a sudden they're not getting what they think that they deserve, and all of a sudden they've made it easy to go ahead and hop on that transfer portal, find another school that's going to promise them the same thing that they were originally promised. I remember the day when parents always agreed with the teacher. I'm not saying that's should always be the case, but I had parents just like your mom, right? I guess that you need to get better, right? It's that makes sense to me, and I think that's part of what we're doing here. So you have a camp, and we talked about it before the podcast, but it sounds like the camp really was your way of kind of filling in some of these gaps that maybe we've been missing as far as how to train and what really these kids really should be focused on. Why don't you talk about the camp and the purpose for it?
Yeah, so I started developing these camps, and we said it before the podcast, is I want to start educating these kids on really what do we actually look for. Mm-hmm. I've been to plenty of showcases over the years, and one specific conversation with one of my best friends in the game, Johnny Pass at Wilson, who's really brought up a great program.
I like John.
Yeah, he's a great guy. We're watching a showcase IO, and we're sitting there like, it took 7 seconds for that guy to make that play because he took 4 crow hops, but he threw 82 off the mound. Off from short across the infield. Yep. That's great, but I can get safe to first with a torn hamstring on that play. So why am I going to recruit that? You're not showing me anything that plays at the college level. So I got tired of it and said, you know what? I'm going to start something that hopefully people want to hop on and make it about how are you actually going to show what you can do in college. And we had our first one in October, and I thought it went great. And we want to teach kids what it really takes and how to really show yourself to different colleges. It's not just so I can look at you.
Right.
So when my buddy Johnny comes watching you in a showcase IO, you do it right. You make the fundamental plays look easy. You make them the right way. You make the throws. You make the play in less than 5 seconds at least. And everything looks like what you're doing. That plays more than just rearing back and trying to throw a certain number across the infield, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of coaches who I've talked to who have winning programs agree with me. So winning leaves clues, or success leaves clues, right, is a better way. And let's kind of do what success is showing us.
No, that's good. What do you think, in your opinion, is the reason these kids aren't being taught? I mean, are they just not getting the training, and winning is the only thing, or what are your, and again, it's just an opinion. What do you think is the real problem behind these showcases?
It's either a couple things, in my opinion. It could just be because we're just doing this so we can take video and you pay the money, or the people care about the wrong things. And I'm sure there are some coaches who have successful programs, and I'm not bashing any coaches at all, who care more about how hard you throw across the infield, and that shows what kind of player you are, than actually how did you make the play. I go off of when it comes to infielders. What is our infield coach, Coach Sires? What does he tell me he wants? And that's what I go get. When I talk to our hitting coach, what does he look like? That's what I go and try and find for them.
Right.
And then I run it through them, and that's why I have them teach these guys, because they're both great coaches in my eyes. And teach them, what do you want out of an infielder if they're on campus right now and playing for you in a national title game? What do you want to see out of them? And so I just think I think it's sexier to say you throw 88 across the infield than say you threw 78 but you made the play in 3.9.
Yeah.
I think it's sexier to say. And I think baseball's moving towards making it look sexier, in my opinion. Now, I'm a little bit more old school than guys my age. Like, I don't care if there's like the bat flip thing is a huge thing in our game, right?
Yeah.
I don't care if you bat flip, but there's also a level to it.
Right. Right.
There's a level. The spin rate, era. Like, if you can spin a ball at a high rate, great. But do you know how to use it?
Yeah.
And can you use it, and can you locate it to make that spin effective? That's what really matters when it comes to getting outs. So that's my opinion on the whole matter.
I think part of it, and again, is opinions. These are all opinions, everyone. So don't crucify us for not agreeing with us. But I also think baseball is such a traditional sport. I think the introduction to all of this new technology, it's almost like it's new to us. And you talk to some old school scouts and old coaches, they're like, you know what, this new stuff, all it does is validate what I already knew, right? Can they win? Are they throwing it? I didn't see the spin rate. I didn't see the launch angle. I saw a swing and I knew what he was doing. And then they go to the statistics and they look at the analytics and they go, oh yeah, it was a good launch angle because I knew it was, because they didn't drop his shoulder. He followed through, whatever it might be. And I think that has to do with it. You also talked about the glamour and making it look good, the sexiness of it. When we start treating these players at 14 years old like they are adults, well, of course, when you got these infielders that they're able to pause and make the play look really good at the major league level, that's not the case. And it may be okay at 14, 15 years old, but you're learning some real bad habits rather than learning the fundamentals and then able to do those things based on your talent. I think that's what it is. We all did that, right? We all wanted to be a certain athlete when we were younger. The problem is you can't stay at that level until you've developed and you've become a player that is able to do that, right? You had to earn it. You get back to the earning. You got to earn the ability to have a sexy looking play, right? So, no, I think that's good. What is your biggest success? And this, again, doesn't have to be on the field. It could be you. It could be your team that you're coaching. It could be you. Whatever it might be. What do you feel from a coaching perspective has been coaching and playing is your biggest success?
I'd say that it's a tie between two things. The oldest one was my friend in high school who ended up going to South Carolina as a catcher. And one of his interviews said that I influenced him by being a great teammate.
Oh, wow.
And that honestly wasn't one of my biggest goals until I kind of learned a little bit what that really means.
Yeah.
Once I got older and matured. And then, recently it's more of a span of time. In the past, I had my first full recruiting class, start leaving last year, and graduating, going on the jobs and going to grad school. Mm-hmm. And I finally had my first guys reach out to do reference letters for work, jobs, grad school. And honestly, like we won a national title in 2021. That's the easy one to say.
Yeah.
But that actually, I feel like almost meant a little bit more, because it shows that, I did something for them and they appreciated it. And, that's my real goal. I never talk about winning when I'm with my pitching staff. I never talk about stats. I never talk about results unless I really, really have to.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, was, something that really hit me deep, where these guys are trusting, because I only asked for reference letters from people who I really trusted and really made impacts on me.
Right.
And when that started, it really, really, just said, you're doing something here, elite. If you're doing anything, it's you're making an impact on someone's life because they're reaching out to you for that. Because there's plenty of people that could have.
Was that really a kind of a step back moment for you? I mean, I'm sure that first one that came in, it meant a lot. I mean, I'm sure that was one of those reflection moments.
Well, at first, I was in the kitchen with my wife. Well, she wasn't my wife then, but she is now. I looked at her and I said, "I better not mess this up." First, that was the first thing I thought. But yeah, I stepped back and I said, babe, like, this is one of the reasons I do it.
Yeah.
This is why I do so many hours with little pay, is because, making an impact on someone's life is really the best thing you can do.
Yep.
You know, I could just say I'm doing this to go get a job that pays a bunch of money, or do this or do that. But that really made me step back and say, you're doing something.
Yep. It's never too soon to start planning your legacy. And I think coaches do that right from the beginning. And I don't think a coach, I think it takes a long time for them to understand the impact. And it's really great when you see a younger coach understand that. And then maybe it was the reference letter. It's to go, you know what, this isn't something to not take lightly, right? You need to take this serious, because the impact that you have on these kids is profound, and we all know that, right? I mean, you probably can name coaches that you had when you were very, very young because of the impact. One thing that they said to you, one thing that they made you do, something that they called you out on. It's very impactful, and it changes our entire life at times, and so it's very, very important. That's awesome. So that was the first one. You said there was two.
Oh, the interview with there was the interview for my buddy Hunter, who went to South Carolina,
okay.
saying I made an impact on, and then it was
the reference. Okay. So both of them were really reference letters. Somebody saying that Coach Heenan, or even a player, Austin, my buddy, he had a real impact on my life. I think that's awesome, and to be that young. So that goes into the coaching. I mean, is that kind of the time period, or when did you realize that coaching is something that you wanted to do full time?
Had no plan on coaching. Once I finished playing in the spring of 2018, when the Coach Braun's office was finishing my degree, still thinking I'm going to go try to play indie ball, and got to the first practice and fell in love. went home. Told my mom, I'm done playing. This is what I want to do.
Awesome.
I went home and just had a huge smile on my face and said that was awesome. That was awesome. Just working with guys, and a lot of them were my teammates the year before.
Right.
Teaching them the things that I didn't have an opportunity to teach them the year before.
Yep.
Opening their eyes to different ideas, the different routines, and seeing them embrace it, and seeing them at least try it on the first day. Maybe I was a little lucky because I had a successful senior year, so everyone knew, well, at least he knows how to get out, so he can maybe teach us something. But I just, when the guys just kept listening and kept their eyes on me,
yeah.
and trusted me with some of this information, I just went home and said, this. I don't care what it takes. I'm gonna go after this career path, because I love this stuff.
That's great.
Man.
That's great. It's probably, it's quite a testament to your head coach as well. I mean, recruiting players that are teachable and able to reach out to the coaching staff. That's a big deal. And you mentioned that before is kind of the recruiting, what you're looking for. You actually talked about character. Austin, you've mentioned your mom a few times. So it sounds like she was pretty impactful in your development and why and where you are today.
Yeah. I mean, she was a single mom the entire time. Raised me by herself. I mean, obviously she had help from, both my grandmothers. But she's down and dirty redneck. Like she doesn't play around. She was the mom and the dad all the same time. No one scared me more than her, but I didn't want to tell anyone you know, the accomplishments that I might have had during a certain day, unless it was her. I just wanted she was everything.
That's great.
Coming up, I mean, did I want to kill her sometimes? I'm sure. And did she want to kill me? I'm sure. Because it was us two.
Yeah.
24/7. But she taught me early. You don't get away with anything. Everything has consequences.
Yep.
And I'm sure she would always say, I'm sure you prefer the consequence to come from someone else, not me. And I agreed with that. But she did a really good job. She never gave me any slack when it came to anything of me making a mistake. She made sure there was consequences. She made me learn from them. She pushed me in the right direction. I remember we were doing travel ball, and we were thinking about schools and what schools were reaching out, and she always just kept saying, "Are you going to be happy there?" She never brought up, did they win? She never brought up, was it Division 1, 2, 3, JUCO? Didn't matter. She said, "Are you going to be happy there? And am I going to have to drive there and pick you up?" Because either you hate it there or you got in trouble. So she did a really good job not knowing anything about college athletics. I mean, she was a cheerleader in high school. We pick on her at family dinners. She's not the best athlete in the world, but she did her best. She played catch with me until she couldn't. And then I had to find someone else.
Yeah, it's really that is the fundamentals right there. Are you going to be happy? And I think a lot of people miss that whole thing. One of my favorites is Coach Meckley up there at Penn State, York. He always says, he said, "Do you like the food? Do you like the dorms? Do you like to hang? Do you like walking around the campus? Because you're going to spend 99% of your time. That's what you're going to be doing, and are you going to be happy?" So it's a really good way of taking a step back and really understanding what this is all about. It sounds like your mom did a pretty good job. So kudos to Miss Heenan. So yeah, she did all right. Good time to talk a little bit about the program. This is your opportunity to let that kid out there that is looking to put a list of their preferred schools together, and why would Salisbury University be one of those schools that they should put on there, and what do you like most about the program and the university itself?
Well, we're one of the biggest Division III schools in the entire country, right around 6,900 to 7,000 undergrad. All said and done with graduate school and everything, we're about 10,000 on campus.
Oh, wow.
We're 20 minutes from the beach. Ocean City's a huge, tourist town. So if you like, the beach area, you like fishing, you like hunting, a lot of guys around that we recruit locally. So, some of our local guys will take our guys out on the boat or fishing or whatever.
Oh, that's cool.
But here, if you want a place where you're going to be held accountable by your peers, this is the place. I love him to death. I give him shout outs when I can. But we had our 6th-year pitcher because of COVID years. He was actually one of my teammates in 2018 as a freshman. We've seen him develop, grow into a man. I love him to death. But him and some of our other, seniors, some of the freshmen were big-eyed on our first day of practice because, all we ask at practice is you give it 100% and you listen. And when we're doing, working on communication on ground balls or anything like that, we don't call guys out when there's a mess up. The leaders do.
The team does.
Seniors, older guys, right. Veterans. They're teaching these guys how to, what you're supposed to say, mine, not me, or blah, blah, blah. Like, they're teaching that. And then when they keep messing up, before we can even say anything, they're saying it.
Yep.
A pitcher made a bad route to first base covering first. And before I could get over there, one of our juniors took him aside, grabbed an extra bag, and taught him the proper route. So we don't even have to hold our players accountable. We will, and we do. But our our leaders do, and our veterans do. And it doesn't matter if you're a 6th-year senior or a freshman, someone's going to hold you accountable. If you miss something, someone's going to call you out and tell you missed this.
Yep.
I always tell our one of our team captains who's a pitcher, I always tell him at the end of practice, like, hey, let's make sure we got everything today. And he'll go around, and even if I don't even ask him, he'll go around, hey, did you do this? Did you do that? So the accountability factor is extremely high, and that's kind of our culture here.
That's great.
We want guys who are going to fit our culture first and foremost. And I know culture is like the sexy word to use to everyone, but it's an established thing. We have values, we have standards that we go over that people are supposed to know. Coach Sayers always says this. He's the master at developing this. He's the intricate one. He's got a PhD in education, so he knows what he's doing on that end. But he breaks it down, and he says all 39 guys are going to know it. I disagree. I doubt all 39 are going to know it, every single one of them. But majority of our guys are going to know it. And I'm sure the ones who don't know it all know at least a little bit, and they're still learning.
Yeah.
So if a player wants to come into a culture that's established of accountability and how to win, this is the place. We're academically, we're known as a business school. Business is our biggest thing. Our Purdue School of Business, one of the best in the country. So I'm about to say about majority of our guys are in that. We have good exercise science program, communication. A couple guys are in physics majors now. Computer science has also been a big one. So there's multiple options here. But you get a brand new facility, only 5 years old, all turf, except for the mound, which is my favorite part. Me and Coach Brown, we're old school. We want the dirt mound, which is hard to keep out of the turf, but we got to deal with it. But all in all, that's to keep it simple. That's why you come here.
That's great.
To be a part of a culture. In the last 2 years, our starting third baseman was a walk-on.
Oh, that's great. Wow.
He was in our national title year, a third baseman or second baseman were both walk-ons. That's because they kept themselves accountable and they worked, and that allowed them to develop. We build our program on that and developing players. We're not a huge transfer school. We like to have it 95%. Guys we brought in as freshmen and developed.
Yeah.
And we dabble in the portal, we dabble in JUCO. If we have holes where we need some experience.
Mm-hmm.
But we want young guys that we can really mold and develop into that championship caliber player.
Kind of a blue school attitude, kind of a hard, kind of a blue collar, work hard, accountability. That sounds really good. I mean, that sounds like a place I'd send my kid. So that's fantastic. I mean, really like that. To wrap up, piece of advice that you would give somebody, no matter where they're at. You talk about character, you talk about accountability. All the characters of your school. What's that one piece of advice that you, Coach Heenan, would give to a player?
Two things. Okay. Surround yourself with people who have your interests in mind. And I'll give my shout out to Coach Brohan because he's molded me. Coach Noto at Wagner. Those are two of my biggest, influences as a coach. But surround yourself with people who have your interests in mind to help you maximize yourself. And that goes to the second one is maximize yourself. Don't try to be anyone else that you're not.
Yep.
If you're 82, 83, and you try to be the guy who's 92, 93, and you're not actually showing me who you are, I can't recruit that.
Yep.
If you maximize yourself, there's a program out there for you.
That's great.
And it might not be the program you want, but at the end of the day, if you go somewhere that is the best fit for you and allows you to maximize yourself, that's where you're going to be happy. We tell guys all the time when I'm recruiting them or they're reaching out to me, I'll tell them, that's not a fit for us. I'm not here to make you feel good about yourself. Like I kind of sound a little cutthroat where I'll tell a guy straight up, you're not a fit for what we're looking for.
Yep.
And if they ask, I'll ask the tough questions. I'll give you tough answers. because it's best for the kid. So maximize yourself and surround yourself with people who have your interest in mind for the right reason.
Yep.
You know, not just telling you need to go to this school, finding what's good, what's best for you.
That's good advice for anyone, not just baseball, right?
Yeah, at any time, at any point in your
Maximize yourself and surround yourself with people that you can count on. I think that's really good advice for everyone. Coach, it's been an honor, privilege to talk to you today. We appreciate you taking an hour out of your time to join the Baseball Blue Book podcast today.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved it. I appreciate it.
Hey, we will keep in touch, and excited to follow your program, and excited to see your career and as you continue to move forward wherever you might be. And it sounds like you're real happy with where you're at, which is that's always great to hear when a coach's knows where they are is exactly where they need to be. So that's fantastic.
Yes, sir. Go Gold.
All right. Take care, sir.
You too.